Hello friends, this is Sai Fanindra from SQL School, and over 16 years of technical expertise exclusively on database activities, database platform and big data analytics. I assure you complete practical and complete real-time orientation. This beautiful and colorful course PostgreSQL DBA. Yes, all sessions will be completely into practical mode with 100% hands-on and routine and emergency DBA activities, troubleshooting, maintenance activities, upgrades, migrations, and so on. Come on, let's get started with our course. Let's understand what is included in our course before we start. Here it is. The PostgreSQL DBA training. It involves right from the basics of database and the PostgreSQL concepts and tools, your command line tools as well as management tools, GUI tools. We need to understand both. Then we shall be taking the core PostgreSQL DBA concepts. So basics first and the admin concepts next. That is plan A. Plan for the duration of about 5 weeks. And interested attendees who are looking for more in their resume, experience profiles, may opt for Azure database for PostgreSQL for additional 2 weeks. So plan B involves 1, 2, and 3, total for 7 weeks. You may opt for plan A first. Once you complete it successfully with the project work, then you can upgrade to plan B if you wish to. Just the difference part. And what is included in each of these boxes? The training plans. Plan A includes the basics right from the architecture to the core admin activities, say on-premise, non-cloud admin activities, including troubleshooting, backups, restore, security, repairs, replication, and monitoring activities, HADR, high availability and disaster recovery, monitoring, service pack, common issues, solutions, and a project work for our resume. The participants who are looking for experience would love to get into Azure, big data, cloud, and it includes again configurations, migration activities, various types of implementing a PostgreSQL in Azure and the database administration activities in Azure, security management, performance tuning, query optimizations, database optimizations, failovers, and maintenance activities, common errors and solutions. We'll start from the scratch, carefully step by step from the next class. And today our agenda is about installation. We shall understand how to install this software. Before we proceed with our installation, the course curriculum, the detailed course curriculum, will start from the basics and the installation activities, proceed for architecture, and we'll be understanding SQL concepts. We'll understand about additional SQL concepts and constraints, joins, views, transactions, CTAs, procedures, and triggers. We shall be understanding about the installation from source code. We need to practice management of databases, authentication techniques, and security. We need to practice backups, restores, and tuning concepts, optimizations. We need to practice high availability, disaster recovery, log management, monitoring, and common errors and solutions, both on Windows as well as Linux platform. And you would be having the project work for the routine and emergency DBA activities, upgrades, updates, service packs, parallel query executions, query tuning activities, and execution plan analysis, including the need for Azure Cloud on PostgreSQL. I mean the limitations of on-premise, limitations of non-cloud implementation. Then based on your course plan, you will continue for Azure databases, right from the fundamentals of Azure, basics of Azure, to Azure Active Directory, Azure Monitor, and Azure fundamentals for databases. Continue for implementation and migration activities of PostgreSQL in Azure, backup restores, monitoring activities, security and HADR in Azure, and maintenance activities. So chapters 1 to 20, plan A, starter plan. 1 to 29 will be experienced Azure plan, plan B. With this information, let's get started now. Let's understand how to work with our PostgreSQL server installation. Agenda for today's class. Before we step into installation, let's understand what is database and why we need it. I assume we are all very new. Let's assume we are very new. Let's learn from the scratch. What is database? A platform to store any type of data and any amount of data, no exceptions. Any type of data and any amount of data. DBMS, Database Management System. DBMS stands for Database Management System. A software used to store and manage databases. A software used to store and manage databases. Examples. Yes, this software we are going to install today. Examples: SQL Server, PostgreSQL, IBM DB2, Oracle, Sybase, so on. So we can imagine something like this. Your PostgreSQL server involves multiple databases, big and small. And inside databases, we have something called tables to store the data. Just like this, your MS Office software supports Excel file. Inside Excel files, we have sheets to store the data. Same way, PostgreSQL is a software we are going to install today in another few minutes. And the software supports databases. Inside databases, we store data in the form of tables. So in Excel, without sheets, no data. In PostgreSQL, without tables, no data. Just remember that way. If in case we are very, very new to database platform. And what is PostgreSQL then? What exactly it is? I said it's a DBMS, Database Management System, a software. By definition, it's a DBMS to store databases of any type, any size, unlimited connections. It's an open source database management system developed by a scientist called Michael Stonebraker and his team in 1986. Initially called Postgres, later eventually turned to be a PostgreSQL. QL is added later. Next, advantages. It's a cross-platform and runs on many operating systems. Runs on many OS. Like for example, Microsoft Windows, Linux, these two part of our course. And we have Solaris, OS X, etc. And the main real-time implementation of PostgreSQL mainly for social networking activities. WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and even Twitter, they work on. They heavily use PostgreSQL. Different versions, the latest version as on date 13 and the previous one 12. These two part of our course. However, we have 11, 10, etc. will be understanding the features and the comparisons with older and new versions. We'll be taking it. And we are going to do the installations today. From next class, we need to slowly start with SQL, structured query language, used to communicate and perform operations on any database for development, testing, and management activities. And we have PSQL called PostgreSQL, a special type of SQL to communicate with databases stored in PostgreSQL server, mainly for dev, test, and management. So PostgreSQL or PSQL is a variant, it's an extension of SQL. We shall be starting with SQL first towards management. Of course, we'll take the basics of SQL and then get into management. Then we slowly proceed for PSQL and management as our course is into core DBA activities. So this course involves daily notes, study material, certification material for PostgreSQL, and we have interview FAQs, project work, and project FAQs. In case if our interviewer asks us what you did in your previous project, what are the challenges you faced, how far your PostgreSQL is secured for your project, even though it's an open source, or why you prefer it over other database management systems. Or for example, what is the size of your database? What are the number of servers you have in your project? What is your team size? What is your job role? These kind of process related and job related FAQs are very, very important for our interviews. So beside the daily mock tests for every concept, we have the project FAQs also separately. And I'll be available on this number for further clarifications or questions during this time, any day. With this small introduction on what is database and what is DBMS and what is PostgreSQL and advantages, please be informed. We shall be having classes with respect to both Windows and Linux for SQL Server, for PostgreSQL installation and PostgreSQL implementation activities. Let's get started with our installation activities now. So PostgreSQL can be installed on either Windows or Linux environment. In this particular chapter, we'll be taking Windows installation. For Linux, we have a separate chapter altogether coming up next. For now, let's start with Windows. Installation requirements. We have hardware requirements and software. Hardware, 1 GHz processor, 2 gig RAM, and 512 MB of hard disk. Hardware requirements. And software requirements. Any OS, Windows or Linux or Solaris, anyone. And user must have administration privileges. And what is included in installation? Yes, we'll see 4 different components for installation of PostgreSQL Server. One is PostgreSQL Server, the main component for storage of databases, pgadmin, a graphical tool for development and management of databases, stack builder. Yes, it's a package manager that can be used to download and install additional tools and drivers. We require it mainly for our later classes pertaining to management integrations, migrations, replications, and other admin tools. Then we have command line tools. The command line tools and client libraries. Like for example, we have something called PS shell, also called as SQL shell, and other command line tools for easy database management activities. A simple, straightforward process for installation. Let's do it carefully. Navigate to this particular website. Go to this website. I'll just make sure. I'll take you to my other screen and show you. Yes, so here we go. Go to this website called PostgreSQL, and here it is, PostgreSQL.org download. This one. Once you go to this PostgreSQL download, next. Okay, here you see Windows. Select Windows. We'll take Linux separately. There are certain precautions and limitations for Linux with respect to specific user interface tools. We'll take it separately. Download the installer. Download the installer. The latest versions are applicable for Windows and Mac. Go to download, this one. Click on download, and this would automatically download one setup file. Here it is. A exe file will be downloaded. Once you get this downloaded, it would be here, something like this. Double click and start the installation. This is the one, the PostgreSQL 13.2-2. Just download and double click the installation. Double click on the setup file to start installation. Let's wait for a few moments. We get a new screen that guides us through the installation process. Let's wait for a few moments. Just double click on this exe file and let's wait. Let's wait for some time. This one. We'll see post program or PostgreSQL program. Next. Let's go with the default installation root directory, and 4 different components would be installed: server and pgadmin graphical interface tool, stack builder for additional drivers and utilities to be downloaded later, and command line, a common interface for both Windows and Linux. For now, let's select all these 4 components and next. And one super user called Postgres will be auto configured. The user name is Postgres. We need to provide a password. Any password is fine. Any password is fine. Provide the required password and next. So remember the username Postgres. You define a password. You set a password. And the default port 5432. Just leave it as it is. 5432. And next. Advanced options. Leave the locale or the language setting as it is. We have Chinese, African, or Nepali, or some, for example, you got something like this: Spanish, French, Turkish, etc. For now, just leave this as it is, default locale, default language, and install. For future reference, for best results, for future reference, we will be using These root directories mainly for configuring environment variables and other reconfigurations. Also, we need these tools or the path for each of the component. So copy this text separately, save side, you copy it separately and say next and install. So remember the steps. Simply download and double click. Go with the default options. For PostgreSQL user, we need to set a password and leave the remaining configurations as they are. Simply install. So only one input we need to provide, that is the password for the default super user, PostgreSQL. This installation would take about 3 to 5 minutes. Max 5 minutes, your installation would be complete. Once it is done, once your installation is complete, then what next? We need to go for verifying the installation, and we need to also proceed for post installation process. Those are the next steps. Let's understand how to verify installation, and then you'll be doing the installation as well, so that in our next entity, next item, will be understanding how to perform the post installation and variable or environment variable setup for our remaining classes. Let the installation go on right now. Let's wait for some time. Let's hold on. Let's wait for some time. Let's wait. Still going on. So I repeat once again. After this installation, we are supposed to verify the installation now. There are different ways to verify installation. Let's see two different ways to verify this installation. It's almost done. Let's hold on. Let's wait. Once your installation is complete, we go to one particular command line tool called PS shell or PSQL. Let's wait. Once installation is complete, we'll be able to get one shell here called SQL shell. Let's wait. Almost done with the installation. It's almost done. Let's wait. Yes, friends. After installation, it's done now. After that installation screen, immediately you get this screen automatically, completing the PostgreSQL setup wizard. Setup has finished installing PostgreSQL on your computer. Do you want to launch Stack Builder? Say uncheck. We'll do the Stack Builder separately. For now, finish. How do you verify the installation? This one. Go to search, and here you'll have PSQL. There is SQL shell, a tool called SQL shell. You get this tool. Click on this PSQL shell, and server would be by default localhost. Database would be by default Postgres, and port would be by default 5432. Simply say enter for each of these options. Username is by default Postgres, and password, we need to enter the password that you specified at the time of installation few minutes back, and say enter. You will see a small warning. You can ignore the warning. Yes, your PSQL 13.2 or the version is available, and we should be able to get something like this. PostgreSQL equal to hash, something like this. So this is a place where we need to start writing our commands. Like for example, I'll say select version and semicolon, something like this. either Windows or Linux, this would be a common platform called shell, the command line interface. This is one way to verify. So what we did, simply launch PSQL. It will prompt for server name, default server name localhost, simply say enter. Database, Postgres, enter the default database, auto configured. Port 5432, enter. Username, Postgres, enter. Password, simply provide the relevant password. Whatever password you supplied at the time of installing the PostgreSQL. And then say enter, you get this connection. This is one way to verify PSQL or the PostgreSQL installation. Another way is using a tool called pgadmin. This one. Using a tool called pgadmin. Here it is. Go to search pgadmin. Okay, this one. You get pgadmin tool. It's an app, a nice graphical interface. The launch of this tool will take place. The tool gets launched. And we are seeing the other way, right? We are seeing the other way to verify the installation. Make sure you do the installation and follow these concepts carefully. Complete your installation and verification so that we'll start with our actual classes right from the basics of SQL and continue throughout the course with practical approach. Let's wait for a few moments. Let's get this admin tool launched. Let's wait for a few moments. It's taking a bit of additional time in getting this tool. Let's hold on. It's loading. Yes, friends. We get this loaded. It will ask you for a password. A master key has to be supplied for password management, like for unlocking a saved password or to reconnect to a database server. We need to provide a password. Provide the password. We can also reset. For now, provide the password. Click OK. You can provide the same password you provided at the time of installing the server. You provide the same password. Click OK. Just make sure you provide the same password. So I provided a password here. I provided one password at the time of installing the server. Provide the same password and you click OK. Let's wait. Let's click OK. Let's wait. Now right click servers, go to servers, and initially you'll see one entry like this. Right click create server. Friends, what we are doing right now, we are verifying the installation. So right click server or right click that particular server, create server. Provide the server name. I'll say PostgreSQL, this one. Give some server name. Leave the remaining as it is. Connection host name would be localhost. Host name would be localhost. Username Postgres and password, whatever password you supplied at the time of installation. Provide the same password. Click save. Just click save. And you get one server connection like this. So what we did, right click, create server, provide the server name, localhost, password, and then make sure you are able to get this server database screen in this way. Next classes, we are going to understand how to create our own databases and how to make use of this default database called Postgres database. We'll be taking them slowly, step by step, and understand how to write queries and tune queries and troubleshoot queries. As a PostgreSQL DBA, we should be aware of lot of troubleshooting and tuning activities. We'll do them carefully one by one. For now, make sure you do the installation and verify in two ways. One is through the pgadmin graphical interface, other one is through shell. With this information, I assure you complete practice oriented lectures on the detail of every aspect in both Windows and Linux platforms throughout the course. Just make sure you do the installations and get the things ready. We'll start with our concepts right from the scratch, slowly, step by step. With this information, we'll stop for today. Please do the installation. Do let me know for questions or clarifications if any. Thank you very much. Have a nice time. Thank you once again.